I'm very curious to know, what is The Keeper's Diary about? Because as a viewer watching the teaser trailer, I obviously understand that it is going to be about the Keeper. But what was very interesting about the teaser trailer is that we get to see Jill Valentine as well. So my question to Andrew and as well as Charlie is that how is is it safe to call this a prequel to Resident Evil 1, or are we also going to get events of Resident Evil 1 in this fan film? So in today's video, I actually had the pleasure of interviewing the cast and crew of the new Resident Evil fan film, A Keeper's Diary, a Biohazard story. Now, our guest for today's interview is, for starters, we actually have Charlie Kraslavsky, who a lot of you guys should recognize as being the original Chris Redfield in the OG Resident Evil 1 director's cut. We actually discussed a lot of questions regarding his time portraying Chris Redfield back in 1995 and how that whole process was. And our second guest is Andrew Saullo, who is actually the writer, director, and producer of this Resident Evil fan film. And he's also part of Residents of Evil. So we actually get to ask a bunch of questions regarding this film. So I hope you guys enjoy this interview. So the first question that I have is, what was your guys' introductions to Resident Evil? How long have you guys been a fan of the series? If we can start with Andrew, and then go to Charles.
I was probably about 9 or 10-ish, and my mom had rented Dino Crisis from the video store.
Oh, nice.
And it came with a demo of Resident Evil Nemesis. So that's kind of how I got started with the series. And then just from there, I immediately fell in love with both Dino Crisis and Resident Evil. And I started playing 2 and then 1 and Veronica and the remakes and blah, blah, blah. So...
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so you've been a long time fan since Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is what you stated, right? Yeah, and that's funny because I also started with Dino Crisis. That's what got me into Resident Evil. So yeah, we share that for sure. And Charlie, same question to you as well. What was your introduction to Resident Evil? Of course, we do know that you are the OG Chris Redfield, right? So if you can talk about how that process was
Certainly. So it's kind of a long, convoluted story, but I'll try and give you the short version. And that is, I didn't know it was called Resident Evil when we shot it. It was the title was Biohazard.
Yeah.
And not being much of a gamer, I didn't even realize the kind of relevance of that game until about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And so it's kind of a knock-on effect from Capcom decided to only put our first names in the credits.
Yeah, that's true.
And I've read somewhere, maybe it was in Alex and Neil's book, I can't remember, but I think they did that on purpose because they were worried people were going to steal the actors for their own video game projects.
Wow.
Which I find laughable because they never called me again. But that aside, there's these fans that kind of put it all together years later. They there's these kind of super fans who have been searching for us original cast for a long time, and they found me, and through me they found Eric and Greg because I was already friends with them on Facebook, so. At first, I was getting contacted about doing podcasts, and I wasn't really even that much aware of how big Resident Evil, is as a franchise at that time. And I kind of just snubbed it, and I wasn't really that interested. But then when Andrew contacted me with, this amazing project, I was just floored. And so that's kind of how it all came back around for me. So it's like I had amnesia for 20 some years or something. And it's I wasn't the only one he considered for the Keeper. Eric was considered as well. And did you consider anyone else before that? I guess the guy that did the narration before you contacted us.
No. I contacted Ward much later. So the first person I contacted was Pablo.
Ah,
Pablo
I
Kuntz.
see. Yeah, the original Albert Wesker voice actor, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he was just busy at the time, or it was hard with travel restrictions because of COVID.
Hmm.
And then I was talking to Krishimir, and I was like, "What do you think if I contact Charlie or Eric?" Because I think I found them, I found their contacts online somehow, and Krishimir was like, "Yeah, go ahead." And then I sent them both an email, and they were both ecstatic about it. But Charlie shows the is he's the most passionate. I mean, Eric is equally as passionate. He really wants to be involved, but Charlie is on it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I,
That's
freaking
really great
awesome,
to
dude.
hear,
Yeah.
honestly. It's so, as you were talking about before, and I have heard a bit about it. I'm not too familiar with it, but it was almost like a hunt to find the, you guys, especially the original cast members. And I know, and I did hear that they're still looking for Jill, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Correct, right? And but yeah, it's been a good couple of years, and so I think it's amazing that, you're back with the series. I guess in an unofficial manner, but still, you know what I mean. It's still part of the Resident Evil community, even though this is a fan film. So yeah, just really glad that, I'm, to be honest, as a fan, I'm honestly super happy to see you back, especially, back into the Resident Evil community. So yeah, really great to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I guess going along with that as well is, Andrew, how long have you been doing content creation? Very curious about that. We'll start with you. And then I guess similar question to Charlie is not with the content creation, but mostly with the acting. How long have you been doing acting? So I guess we'll start with Andrew regarding content creation.
I've been making stuff for a while now. Specifically Resident Evil stuff. It's basically been since what, June of last year. But I mean, I've been a video producer since basically I graduated in high school in 2009.
Oh, wow.
I've done weddings, I've done corporate videos, I've done a bunch of different YouTube videos for different channels. I've done Sportsman's Warehouse, like product reviews. I work for Southern Utah University at the moment, so I do all their aviation stuff. Yeah, just all kinds of stuff in terms of, I guess, content creation, but really the last year or so with Resident Evil specifically.
Yeah, so that's a long time since 2009. That's really awesome to hear. Yeah, that you've been,
Yeah.
in this space, especially with content creation for that long. Yeah, that's it. That's incredible to hear. I had no idea. So yeah, really, really, really cool to hear. And yeah, and as mentioned, similar question to Charlie, but I guess with the acting side is, yeah, what got you into acting, and how long have you been doing that? What's your story when it comes to acting? Very curious to hear.
Sure. So, I was bitten by the acting bug young and just had a fascination for Western movies, especially. So I was born and raised in Tokyo, but they did have, certain hours of the night, they'd have popular Western movies, and sometimes we'd have TV shows. And I was just so captivated by them. And, as a young boy, like walking in a store and they had like postcards with all the Hollywood stars' faces on them, like Steve McQueen and Clint Eastwood and John Wayne,
Yeah.
and I was just like hooked, and I just couldn't get enough. Um, and I think part of it was like, by the way, are you in Japan?
Me? Me?
Yeah.
No, no, but I have
Oh,
lived in
okay.
Japan
Because
though. I have lived in
oh,
Japan.
okay.
Yeah.
Because when you sent me the meeting invite, it was like 11 a.m. Japan time. I was like, oh, he's in Japan.
I say no,
But I
no.
guess that was just
No.
some weird Google thing. But
Yeah.
we're all just going to be replaced by AI eventually, so it doesn't really matter. Uh, but
Yeah.
so yeah, I totally got sucked in, and I think part of it for me was just a lot of the Japanese TV and films just suck.
Yeah.
Like I would be watching Japanese TV and I would like be like waiting for the commercials to come on, because the commercials they would actually spend some money on and they were like really cool. But I just felt like that was my place somehow, and maybe that's narcissistic, that I was going to be a star. But I was a young kid, and then I went through the usual like school play, that sort of thing. went off to college, came back to work for my dad in Japan. And that's when I first started doing some acting and modeling work. So that was like in maybe 1992. And a lot of Westerners do it in Tokyo. At least back then, there was a lot of work. I think it's different today. I think it's mostly just the big agencies today that get work there now. But you could do acting, you could do extras, you could be in films, and you could just join every agency in town if you wanted to. So that's how I started.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
then, you know, so I'd just be going to a lot of castings, and I was still working for my dad at the time. And then it's kind of started to snowball and get pretty good for me. And then I fell in with the office that ended up being my agent in Japan, uh, Inagawa Motoko office. And it was kind of a unique business model. So I was an actor, but because I was bilingual, Japanese and English, I was also um, like a casting manager. So I would call people in for castings. I would take them there. I would interpret for them. I would also translate on set. And sometimes I'd be wearing two hats. I'd be the agent and I'd be the talent. Um,
Wow.
and
That's
that was
yeah.
kind of a unique business model that only that agency had. So there was about 7 other guys similar to me, similar background to me, maybe had grown up in Japan or just, learned Japanese. And um, so I was from about 92 to around 96, working probably almost every day on a set or at an audition or several auditions every day, and I loved it. And I got to do a lot of cool things, not just acting. I translated scripts sometimes, and I did voice acting, and so I really, really learned a lot in a short amount of time. And then I left in '96 for the wrong reason, for a girl. It's like you should never just uproot your whole life for a girl. I've learned my lesson. And so I got married and I moved to London, and I started working in other fields. And then eventually I found myself back in California. And it wasn't my first time in California because I came here to go to college as well. And I just really like it out here. So I've lived here like 3 different times in my life. And in that time, I also started doing some like commercial and modeling work just on the side, and I was waiting tables because the bug had got me again. And so I did it for a few years in San Francisco, did some commercials, some minor, just minor other TV and film stuff. And then I had an opportunity to move to LA. So I moved to LA in 2012. Um, and the LA life just kind of sucked it out of me. It was just sucked me dry. I just had to just work all the time doing other stuff. And I'd go to auditions, but I would almost never get the part. And it was just really frustrating. But it's the big leagues. What are you going to do?
Yeah, it's
Um,
it's very hard also for actors, right? Because you're always going into auditions, and after like the so many auditions, right, it is kind of hard. You're kind of like, you know what, maybe I should just take a break, or I should do something else. But it is very
right.
hard, right? But that's very interesting that you were talking about how you, during your time in Tokyo, you said that you were basically the jack of all trades. So not only were you doing modeling, you mentioned, but you were also doing voice acting as well as acting, and also being an agent and casting director as well, is what you said, right? So
Uh, yeah, I wouldn't say director. It was more like a casting agent
yes,
because
yes,
there were like
casting.
7 of us in the office.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to learn a lot while I was still young in a short amount of time. And, I probably should have just stayed there. I probably would have found a lot more success in that field, being a bigger fish in a smaller pond.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but that's yeah, that you must have had some amazing experiences working in Tokyo during that time, right? And since even
I
you
did.
mentioned,
I
right,
mean,
that it was a very good opportunity. It's not like nowadays, as you were mentioning before, right? So I guess yeah, it was very very good for you that you were in those times in the '90s working during that time. But yeah, yeah, I see.
right. And then especially in late 1995, where I got to be Chris Redfield.
Yeah.
And, you know, uh, it's funny, the things that define you. It's like something that, you know, I really like at the time, I thought it was this amazing, cool thing to be a part of, and I was so excited about it. Um, but then I kind of moved on with my life, and my life was not running in parallel with gaming very much.
No.
And I just didn't even know.
Yeah. But that's an incredible story that since, after so many years that you're getting back into this acting, obviously, and not only that, but you're coming back to that, Chris Redfield, since I did hear you guys are also working on another project called Resident Evil Resurrection, right? Where you get to
Hmm.
portray Chris Redfield again. So yeah, very cool.
Right.
And of course, this time you're playing the Keeper in the Keeper's Diary. So yeah, very excited for that as a fan, Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess yeah,
Yeah. So,
the next question that
mhm.
I have for you guys, and it's basically regarding the Keeper's Diary, right? It's I'm very curious to know what is the Keeper's Diary about, because as a viewer watching the teaser trailer, I obviously understand that it is going to be about the Keeper. But what was very interesting about the teaser trailer is that we get to see Jill Valentine as well. So my question to Andrew and as well as Charlie is that how is is it safe to call this a prequel to Resident Evil 1, or are we also going to get events of Resident Evil 1 in this fan film?
Take it
I
away,
guess,
Andrew.
yeah, I guess it would be a prequel given that it's telling the events of the diary. But it, have you seen the storyboard video at all?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
so yeah, it very much follows the lineage of the diary. So it'll start off with a female detective um,
Yeah.
stumbling upon a diary, and it's the keeper's diary, and it kind of tells his story, and we don't really veer too far off script, so it's pretty much straightforward, depicting the text from the diary. It'll show Charlie losing his mind, basically some kind of cognitive degeneration after contracting the virus. Um, some kind of yeah, yeah,
Yeah, with the
so,
itchy and the tasty text from the
yeah,
Keeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
kind of
see.
cabin fever vibe going on, and then it'll end with the female detective um, finishing reading the diary and continuing her mission.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for letting me know about that. Yeah, because yeah, as a viewer, I was very not confused. That's not the right word, but just very intrigued that we also get to see Jill. But I guess, as mentioned, as you just stated, this is going to talk about the Keeper and the Keeper's Diary and the lore for that. So really excited to see a prequel to Resident Evil 1. Yeah. So my follow up question to for you guys is, how did everybody kind of get to be a part of this project, right? Because seeing your guys's teaser trailers and stuff, we know that for starters, we have Andy, obviously, from the Biohazard Declassified. We have the Residents of Evil being a part of this project. And we also have, I just learned 2 days ago that Resident Evil Challenger is also going to be the cinematographer for this. So, and of course, Charlie. So, very curious to see how did you get everybody to kind of collaborate into this project, Andrew? And yeah, how was that? How was that experience? Yeah.
Uh, no easy feat. So I'll try and go about this as quickly as I can. I saw Welcome to Raccoon City, what, 2 years ago now, in October when it came out, and I was just angry after walking out of the movie theater, especially after seeing the way they handled Itchy Tasty. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is this? What
Yeah.
is this? So a couple months later, I just told myself, all right, I got to do something, because this movie got my hopes up with all the social media posts that they were posting with the freaking set backgrounds, and it's like they might be actually doing it this time. Nope. So I was furious, and I was just like, this I've always wanted to do this. It's like literally my life stream. So I think I wrote a script, and I contacted everybody, and JJ responded. JJ and Krishimir were the only ones that responded. I can't remember who responded first, but JJ was very nice. He was like, this is awesome, fantastic, but we already got something going on with Sean Liebert and the keeper. And I'm like, that's okay, no worries, blah blah blah. And then Krishimir was like, oh, this is awesome, let's do it. So it kind of just fell into place from there. And that's when we decided to contact Pablo first. I don't know if it was my decision or a group decision. And then Charlie and Eric. And then I think Charlie gave me Greg's Facebook, and then I contacted him that way. And we uploaded the storyboard video that wasn't really working. So I was like, we got to do a trailer. I think it was the time when we said we got to do a trailer is when I started contacting everybody. And from there, it kind of fell into place. And then we went to Germany in October. Actually, before that, after the news started circulating the internet when we were filming last June, is when JJ reached back out to me after all the articles, and he was like, "Is this you?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he and I have he brought me on the team, and we've been working together ever since. But we went to Germany last October and did a bunch of stuff with Andy and Krishimir that was super fun. And then it was just getting to be a logistical nightmare, and things were just proving to be too difficult to produce in Germany. So that's kind of when we're still all great friends, but that's kind of when I parted way with Andy and Krishimir and moved over to Andy Cox with Biohazard Declassified. So I just started trying to put together things here for the States to produce and plan and coordinate and where are we going to film and blah, blah, blah. It was just proving to be far more easier than trying to get everything together in Germany, because it was just proving to be a little bit too difficult over there, unfortunately.
I see. And around what time did you decide with Andy, getting Andy on the team from Biohazard Declassified? Around what time of year was that? Because you said that in October you guys were in Germany. So when did you make that decision? We got to do it in America, so it's a lot easier.
It had to have been maybe, I don't know, 3-4 months ago.
I see. So very recent.
Yeah, it's after I made the decision.
Less than that, probably.
Less than that?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be. But after I kind of made the decision, it was kind of just like, hey, Andy, would you want to run the crowdfunding for me? And then from there, it was like, hey, you want to do this? And he was just, one after another, doing this, doing that. I'm like, great, cool. This is awesome.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Andy from Biohazard Declassified is working along with you as a producer, right? Or, yeah, I see. Yeah, I see. So yeah, that's so cool to hear that, how you basically started this whole project was by basically you basically watched Welcome to Raccoon City and you didn't like how they did the Itchy Tasty. And to your credit, I also thought it was very strange in that movie that they didn't have it in the mansion. It was like in Raccoon City, very different. They didn't really read a file, and yeah. So I could definitely understand your position on that, but that's very interesting that, watching that movie kind of gave you inspiration that, what, I have to make this project. But also very cool to see that it wasn't just Residents of Evil that you first approached. You approached other creators in the space.
Everyone.
Everybody in the space. So very cool that at the end you did stick with Residents of Evil, and as mentioned, you did become a member of the crew. So I guess to that, I would also a quick question regarding that. So even after this project with the Keeper's Diary is over with, and obviously you have other projects with the Resident Evil Resurrection, or will you still be part of the Residents of Evil?
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm a team member.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's good to hear.
I'm truly blessed and lucky to have been brought on to the team, and I consider all of those guys really good friends. JJ and I and Bob and Corey and Beggy, Tony. feel like they're the friends I've never had, really, to be honest. So, and now I finally have them as friends. Not
Yeah.
that my friends back home aren't my friends still, but like these guys, we just click because we're all nerds. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah, you found your crew. So yeah, that's so great to hear that, out of everybody, you JJ was kind of the one that kind of believed in your vision for this project, right? So yeah, very cool to see. Right before we get back to the interview, very curious to know if you guys want me to do more of these interview types of videos. If so, let me know down in the comments, very important. And also don't forget to leave a like, that really helps out the video. Well, anyways, let's get back to the interview. So a follow-up question to this is, Andrew, specifically, what's your background with filmmaking? Very curious to hear about that. We already heard about your content creation. Is that part of your experience with filmmaking, or did you go to school for this? Very curious to know.
yeah, I would say that's part of the experience. Filmmaking, content creation, I kind of all blended into one. But I did go to school at Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida. I have my bachelor's of science in film. Um, though, I mean, I went to school, I have the degree. I kind of feel I've learned more kind of outside of school, doing things on my own. It's good to have the degree, but um, Full Sail is a school that kind of teaches you different things about the industry, and they preach about networking, and you get to have some hands-on experience in their labs. But there's some labs where some students get, a little bit different experience based off of selection of who they pick as the DP or the screenwriter or whatever. So it's like it was a good experience, but um, if you want to make stuff, just go out and do it yourself. So, and that's kind of what I've been doing ever since I graduated high school. Really, is just making my own videos, working for different clients. Um, I have a whole slew of short films under my belt that they're on my YouTube channel. It's not like they're super crazy popular. I'm not a big YouTuber or anything like that, but they've been things I've enjoyed making over the years. So every now and again, I'll try and produce a short film like this one. This is by far the biggest thing I've ever done. So
Yeah, no, really great to hear. And yeah, as you know, it is worth mentioning too that I have major respect for that as well. You getting a bunch of your experience through content creation, because you know what? A lot of the biggest and, most well-known filmmakers now do have YouTube channels. There's a bunch of people that I follow that, are filmmakers, and they do post solely to YouTube. So that's very cool. But as you mentioned before, right, you have been part of, you have been doing this content creation and also doing videos for certain companies. And you also stated that you were doing videos for university. So yeah, that makes sense that all of that kind of blended in together. But very cool to
yeah,
hear your full experience with filmmaking and as well as content creation. It all blended in. So
yeah.
yeah,
Thank
very
you.
cool. Very cool. Now, yeah, yeah. So the next question that I have is actually for Charlie. You were mentioning how it's been such a long time since you've come back to Resident Evil, and you did state before that you didn't know that you were in Resident Evil because in Japan it is called Biohazard, right? Um,
はい、バイオハザード。
yeah, Hazado, yeah. So that's very cool, and very curious. Also, going along those lines too, is when did you first know that, hey, I'm actually a part of this franchise? Because I'm sure you probably saw a bunch of the movies that came out over the years. Not too sure, but yeah, when was the first time that it kind of hit you that, hey, wait a second, Resident Evil and Biohazard are the same thing? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was somewhere around maybe 2017 or 2018, and that's when I started getting all these requests on Facebook. Like all these people, I was like, "Who are you?" Requesting to be my friend. And then shortly thereafter, I got contacted by Fred Durf, and he's one of these guys in this core group of like super sleuths who've been looking for us. And he found me because he figured I must have had some connection to Japan, and he found my yearbook photo, which I had posted on a website called classmates.com, which I doubt people use very much today, but it was kind of a thing back then. and put it all together, found my Facebook profile, contacted me. And then around
Wow.
that same time, I got interviewed by a guy named Philip. Shoot, I forgot his last name. Um, I have his book somewhere. I could go find it. He's actually since passed away, unfortunately. But I
Oh,
did it, like my first interview was with this guy Philip, who ended up publishing a book, which is very thin. It's like about this thick, um, about the origins of Resident Evil, and then there's this guy. I think his name is it like Yang or something like that? I forget. Who does like podcasts, and he wanted me be on his podcast, but I just kind of never replied. Sorry, guy. Just wasn't into it back then.
I see. Yeah.
now now call me today and I'd be like, yes, I'll talk to you for hours about it.
Yeah, Charlie.
Uh,
Charlie's available now, so he's
yes.
available now.
I've finally come to my senses, and I'm starting to get really nerdy about it too. Um, but I still don't have a game console. I need to kind of get that sorted out so that I can start playing some of these games. Like some of the newer ones seem amazing. Um, but I guess the thing I've enjoyed the most though is just getting to meet all these cool people in the community. A lot of them I haven't met face to face, but obviously Andrew, JJ, and then this last weekend we were up in Michigan with JJ and all the Row Squad, and so I got to
Yeah,
meet
yeah.
Peggy and Tony took these amazing photos.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, with your coat from like Resident Evil 8 and stuff, and I think
Right.
one person was carrying you, right?
Yeah, that would have been Andrew.
Yeah,
And
that was
and
yeah.
like we'd done all the photos already, and we were going outside to just horse around and do the group shot. And I was like, my feet won't be in it, right? And Tony's like, yeah. And so I just had my
That's
flip
right.
flops on. And then of course Tony like catches me with my flip flops. I think he planned, he just wanted to have something sensational. And I'm like, look like I'm doing a hula dance or something. Um,
Yeah,
but
you look awesome from like the waist up. Yeah.
but I like to joke around, I like to horse around. I'm just kind of a cheesy, like funny, like happy-go-lucky kind of guy. Um, and I'm not always so serious like Chris Redfield. But but the crowdfunding's been up now for like a day, and we had like a really huge donor right off the bat, which made me really excited. And now it's just kind of inching along. Um, but it's all just kind of surreal how it's all like it's been a year and a couple of months, since we went and did
And
our reunion interview with Andrew and filmed those teasers.
yeah,
And we've just been like having so much fun with it, especially like the video I did with the Samurai Edge, with
yes,
the sheriff's office, where Andrew
yeah.
lives. He's tight with those guys, and there's a lot of stuff that we can't talk about, which I wish I could, like um,
Yeah.
maybe someday after we shoot the keeper, we could actually come out and talk about it. But it's really organic. It's still evolving. Like there's still cast members that we're not 100% sure who's going to play the role,
Yeah.
for example. And there's certain things that just because we don't want to cause confusion that I can't talk about. But there's been a lot of really cool stuff happening in the background.
Yeah, no
And
spoilers, no spoilers. but
yeah,
but kind of going along with that, you said that you kind of came back to this series or came back to this community of Resident Evil, I think in 2017, right? And so, how have you you obviously stated that you don't play the games, but you are planning on it. But yeah, have you been watching like other people play the games? Or I know that I'm pretty sure
uh-huh.
Residents of Evil does do live streams right every week. So have you been keeping up with them? Kind of uh, you know, uh, intaking all of the Resident Evil kind of games by watching it, or
I
how?
have.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this last weekend we live streamed for like 10 hours and we played like 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And it's like a great opportunity, especially like if I'm sitting next to Beggy, because she's like an encyclopedia. She
Yeah.
knows like everything about everything. So I just
Yeah.
kind of plopped myself next to Beggy like for the whole thing so that it was almost like an earpiece. It's like, no, no, this is why and that's why. Um, and she gets so deep into it about the meanings behind it and everything.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot on this last stream. And oh my God, like the last 2 hours of that stream, I was dying. I was like trying to just hold my eyes open. I was like, oh my God. And they're going to do a friggin' 24-hour stream.
Wow.
When is
Right
that going to
now.
be? I forget.
They're doing it
Is it
Damn.
right
right
now.
now?
Yeah.
Holy moly. Can you imagine? These people are dedicated. 24
Yeah.
hours. Like
That's dedication. Yeah, I've only
it's
been
almost
streaming
like a,
for 1 year, and I think the max I did was 4 hours, and I was exhausted. So major respect to the guys at Row, and also streamers in general, as well as Andy. Right, Andy also streams. So yeah, huge respect to those guys that
yeah.
can do 24-hour streams, because yeah, it's tough. Right, it's tough being entertaining and being very up with the energy for that long. So major respect.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
So
that's
the
awesome
the
that you were like
first
a sponge, kind of taking in all of the games with the guys right at Rose. So
yeah.
yeah, that's really awesome. And how excited were you, kind of getting back into this, kind of getting back into the character of Chris, getting into to the character of the keeper? But how has that been? All these opportunities have been opening up. Yeah, how has that been?
It's kind of been like, since this all kind of started about a year and 2 months ago, um, it's almost like I'm starting to become Chris, like in my everyday life. I feel like I'm acting more like Chris. Not so much the keeper, because I don't want to be like munching on people, but
That makes
it,
sense.
it's it's become like an alter ego. And like if I'm just like driving down the road, listening to the radio, and I've got all these images in my head, and I feel like I'm becoming him. I don't know if that's kind of weird, but so that's down the road though. Like I'm not going to get to be Chris again until we do, the resurrections.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but I feel him, and I've started like, when I go to Ross. Do you guys have Ross Dress for Less where you are? I don't know. So it's like a
I do.
discount clothing store. It's like that's where I go, to get my clothes. And I'll go there and I'm picking like Chris colors for my shirts, like
You're
this is
getting
what
into
Chris would
character.
wear.
He
Yeah,
opens his
it's
closet and it's all
yeah,
green
it's just
shirts.
all green and black and gray and and
You're
it's
working out
it's
as well.
almost
You're working out as well, like with Chris and
uh
stuff.
a little bit.
Uh,
Yeah, so we have a pool table at work, and so we have a lot of house rules. And so I created one, which is every time you scratch, you do 20 push-ups. And I'm a pretty good pool player, but I scratch a lot. So I've been doing my push-ups. I play tennis. That's how that's my enjoyable way of doing cardio. Um, and I've kind of been trying to get like there's a public swimming pool nearby, and I'm trying to work myself up to that because that's such a great way to get in shape. But it's like I'd
yeah.
have to go there at 6. I'd have to be there at like 6 in the morning to make it
But
work,
but I
because I
like
have
how
to be at
you
work.
I like how you said that tennis is your enjoyable way of cardio, because cardio is not fun. I don't know. I can agree
No,
with that. Cardio is not always fun, but when you kind of trick your mind to playing a game, like for example, tennis, or for other people, soccer, right? You kind of get tricked into that, right? So I
yeah.
like that. I
So in
like.
in my in my dream fantasy, what I want to do is I want to fly Benson Mokhtar out here to where I live. And then together, he and I will convert my garage into like a kung fu studio, and we'll just work out there. And because Benson is like a badass.
And Benson
He
Mokhtar, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the actor that the model that portrayed? Carlos?
Carlos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Carlos
Exactly.
Oliveira. Okay. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I had
And
to fish through that information in my mind. I see.
sorry, I just kind of
Yeah.
jumped, took a tangent there, but yeah, so I got to meet him when we were in Germany, and he's a total ham. He's always just joking around. Um, the guy is strong. He lifted me like I was like, just lift me up, and he just like lifted me like Superman lifting Lois Lane. And he was just like,
Dang.
yeah, no problem. And I weigh like 190 pounds. I'm not a small guy.
Yeah.
So, but I did do a little bit of judo and karate when I was younger in Japan, but by no means, like, am I proficient at any of those things. But I feel like I have good eye-hand coordination. I have a lot of good, just natural strength. I am getting a little soft. I do tend to have a little too many beers, and I like to eat pizza and sushi and
But that's awesome that
um,
yeah you've been getting back, you're getting back into character, and that's so cool that it is affecting part of your life, right? You are like, what would Chris wear in this situation? Maybe I should start working out a little more, right? So yeah, that's really
right.
cool, really awesome to hear.
But
So yeah, but
you know
moving
the
along, moving along with the next question that I actually want to ask is towards Andrew. Now, as we've talked already, right, you guys mentioned Resident Evil Resurrection, which is another movie you guys have planned, or another fan film, I should say. So, very curious, how many other projects are you guys currently working on? Like, I mean, obviously, if you can't say, that's okay. I don't want to spoil anybody, obviously, but just very curious, like, what projects can you tell us right now that you guys are in the works? Um, yeah,
Well, all of that stuff is going to largely depend on how successful or not successful we are with the crowdfunding campaign. So if
I see.
everything goes well and we don't get in trouble and we hit our goal, blah blah blah. Uh, Resurrection would most likely be the next thing in the queue of things to go. But ideas that I've always wanted to do personally are obviously this. Um, I never really had Resurrection as an idea I always wanted to do, but it kind of evolved and now it's there and it's like, holy crap, I have everyone together. Let's do this. The whole original cast. Why not do this? You know what I mean? So that's the
Yeah.
next thing down the line. And then I've always wanted to do something Dino Crisis.
Oh my gosh, really? That's
Yep.
awesome. That's so cool to
If
hear.
I'm gonna play the dinosaur.
yeah, yeah. If I have time and money next year to do something like that, I would absolutely love to do it. Something Dino Crisis. I've always wanted to do the epilogues from Nemesis. Those would be awesome to see as short films.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, with all the different characters. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then Biohazard, the beginning or the true story behind Biohazard, that book that came with one of the versions of the PS1 game, where it
Mm,
kind of tells the story of Chris shortly before the mansion incident. I always
yeah.
thought that would be amazing to tell. What else? I feel like there's another one in there I just can't think of right now. Probably the ending of RE2 after they get off the train and they're in the desert. I think that'd be cool. But I guess that would kind of lead into that epilogue. So,
Yeah.
but
But
yeah, those are
Andrew,
some of the ideas that I've always wanted to do. So,
you're just full of good ideas. I'm actually super I'm actually super hyped. And as you mentioned, this obviously is dependent on whether the crowdfunding is successful. And yeah, so I do 100% hope that does happen, because yeah, very excited with what you guys have planned for the future, and also with this project, The Keeper's Diary. Yeah, so this question is for Charlie. You know, as many of my viewers know, that out of all the OG trilogy, the OG Resident Evil 1 has a special place in my heart. So I'm very curious to know, like, that whole initial sequence with like you guys running through the field, was that shot outside? And I don't know if you remember, where exactly did you guys shoot that in Tokyo? Was that in the outskirts? Was it in the middle of nowheres? Yeah, how was that experience like? If you could elaborate a little more on that.
Sure. So that sequence, as well as the initial sequence where you're following down the hallway and you end up with my eyeball,
Yeah.
were shot near the Tama River, which is not that far from central Tokyo. It's in Tokyo. Tokyo is a large city, but the Tama River, and it was I think like maybe August 1995, super hot, humid
Oh, dang.
summer night, and we were plagued by mosquitoes. And Inez, who played Jill famously, was like whining and complaining about the mosquitoes. That's well documented. And then, um, so we just did those scenes, the scenes in the hallway, and it was all kind of secretive at the time. So they didn't really tell us exactly what was going on in the story. So when we were in the hallway, for example, uh, he said, "There's a creature that's chasing you. Just imagine a very large wolf man,
Hmm.
right?" And that's, the scene where the camera follows me, and then eventually it ends up with the iconic scene with the eye. And then, of course, um, the very poignant memory about that for me is they wanted me to open my eye like as big as I could. And I'm just trying to open my eye, and I'm like, well, my eyes are kind of small. This is about as big as it gets, guys. And they're like, all right, do it with your fingers. So then they got really close with the camera, and that iconic scene where you see my eye, this is what I'm doing. And then they just, they came in really close.
Wow, I had no idea
And
that that was your eye, actually. I thought it was just, yeah, I don't know, I just never put two and two together, but I know that scene that you're talking about in the main menu of the
uh,
game, but very interesting. Yeah, and the fact that you said
right,
that it
that's all
was,
just practical. There's, yeah,
yeah,
there's, maybe something added later, but it's mostly just practical stuff.
yeah, and I'm assuming that that scene was shot indoors, right? And you said that this
Right. It was
was,
like an abandoned, I think like an abandoned warehouse,
I see.
basically,
Yeah.
on the Tama River. It was just all like overgrown and grassy outside. And it was just like a dilapidated old warehouse. And that's where we shot it. And then like the credits, I think that was done in a studio. And I can't remember, like that day that I went to the studio, I ran into like, I think maybe one or two of the other cast members, or maybe we were all there that day doing that. And then I had one other day shooting, and I couldn't tell you exactly where it was, but it was somewhere like maybe a 2-hour drive outside of Tokyo, where we shot the part where it's afterwards and I'm in the helicopter. And that was a temporary, um, like one of those temporary offices you see at construction zones. And that served as the interior of the helicopter. So
Interesting.
we
Yeah.
did, yeah, we did that scene. And what I can remember about that is we were filming it, and I'm in a spotless white T-shirt. Everything's like so clean. So I said to Shinji Mikami, I'm like, I've just been through hell. Like, shouldn't I be dirty? Like, shouldn't I be like all bloody and dirty? And he agreed with me. And it had rained just a few nights before, and there was these puddles in the parking lot. And the parking lot was just kind of like this gravel parking lot. And so he's like, "Yeah, just go outside and roll around in the dirt." And I did, and came back in, and they were like, "No, it's still too clean." So I went out like I think about 3 times rolling around in the dirt to get my shirt a little bit dirty. Um, and yeah, so it was only I think about 3 days total of shooting, plus uh, the most exciting day was actually the wardrobe fitting, because we all sat down, like the whole cast was there, and they had the drawings of each character sitting on desks where we sat, and then we like did a fitting where they put like the knife here and they put the vest on me, and I was like, yeah. I was like, this is kick ass.
Wow, yeah,
Um,
yeah. And they
and
also
then
shot
the
footage of
one,
that, right? They also shot like
yeah,
BTS. Yeah.
there is some, yeah, BTS. I think most of the BTS is of that day when we were shooting at the Tama River, and then just also BTS inside Capcom where they're, all on their computers and doing stuff. Um, but and then the other thing was my hair. So my hair and my facial hair, that was a big sort of thing in the beginning that we talked a lot about. And at first they wanted me to have scruff, but they wanted to dye my hair blonde.
Oh,
But
wow.
then it was, you know, it was like such a contrast because my hair is so dark. It's gray now, but back then it was like almost black.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, and so they had me grow out some scruff and then come to a hair salon. And there they were going to dye my hair. But at the last minute, they decided instead of dyeing it blonde, because that would have been, I think, like a 3-step thing where they'd have to first put peroxide on my hair, make it a lot lighter, and then dye it blonde. They're just like, okay, forget it. We'll just peroxide, and that was it. And that's why my hair has like this orange kind of sheen to it, because my hair is almost
Oh,
as dark as yours.
yeah, yeah.
And then they just put peroxide on it, and it just kind of turned almost like pumpkin orange.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I had no idea about that fact. That's so
Right.
interesting. Yeah, so
And
Chris
then
Redfield was almost
and then
blonde.
the facial hair looked so dark compared to it. So finally, they said, okay, yeah, let's go clean shaven. So
Yeah.
that's how that
Wow.
kind of happened.
Wow, I had no idea about that. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that.
Sure.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah. Yeah, as a Resident Evil fan, I
It's
love
fun.
to
Yeah.
hear those types of things. So,
It's
yeah.
funny the things that you remember, the things that stick with you.
Yeah. And also the fact that, it was in August you mentioned, and I've been in Japanese summers and oh boy, the
Yeah.
humidity. Oh my gosh, I do not love the humidity at all. I'm like, as I was telling Andrew before, I actually live above Montana. And so it's
Mhm.
very dry weather where I am. Summers are dry, right? Or, yeah. So, yeah, humid weather, nah. And especially Japan. Ugh. Yeah, I'm just having flashbacks. So that must have been very
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. I used to, growing up, we had air conditioners in the house, and I would just, middle of August, I would just either be in my room with the air conditioner blasting, or I would just go down to the swimming pool and just be in. It was like those are my two universes all summer long.
Your two safe zones.
And then, yeah, and then sometimes we'd go on a vacation somewhere, but otherwise it was either air conditioning or swimming pool all summer long. And then sometimes it would just rain. It's like a monsoon season in Japan
Yeah.
in the summer, and just get like this nonstop rain, but it's like warm, tropical, and hot.
And it gets hotter with the
Yeah,
rain.
yeah.
It gets more humid. So, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, moving along with the next question, and this question is actually guided towards Andrew. So, very curious if this is successful, right? I'm definitely hoping that this project is successful. But if it is successful, can we see perhaps a sequel to The Keeper's Diary? Or, as you stated before, since you have so many great ideas, would that lead to those other ideas coming to fruition?
It would probably lead to one of those other ideas. I don't know how you do a sequel per se to the Keeper's Diary because you don't really have any details about him outside of the diary, to my
Yeah.
knowledge.
I guess I should have
Um,
specified more about like a different file source, right, from a different video game. But
oh
yeah,
yeah,
that's what I meant. Sorry, I wasn't specific. I
no,
was-
that would be cool. I think I would personally prefer to kind of stick along the path of those ideas that I kind of always wanted to do, and then I don't know, God forbid it takes like 5 years to get all that done, but after it's all done, maybe I can explore the possibilities of doing that. And like I said, it's all dependent on how successful or unsuccessful this is and whether or not, you know, something with copyright happens or whatever. So there's always that possibility too.
and roughly around when can we expect um, viewers to actually get their hands or be able to watch this this fan film. Right now, correct me if I'm wrong, this is going to be released on the Residents of Evil channel, right? But if the
Yep.
crowdfunding, it's all dependent on the crowdfunding, right? This is 100% crowdfunded by the fans. So I guess this is a movie made by fans for the fans, right?
Yep. Yeah. So if everything goes well, we have filming scheduled for the end of October, and then I'll be editing it all of November, December, and my VFX people will be doing a lot of work then too. So I would expect for it to be released like Q4 of this year or Q1 of next year, I would anticipate, and then it'll go up on Residents of Evil's YouTube free of charge for everyone to watch. And then we may add stretch goals as time progresses, depending on how it keeps flowing. Like maybe we'll do some kind of premiere in Vegas where you pay your way to get out there to spend a weekend, doing the Vegas thing, and then hit up the movie theater for an hour.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that stretch goal, but it's just an idea floating around.
Yeah, and so going along with that, how can people, where can people support this this project? How can they support, and correct me if I'm wrong, but are there also perks for supporting?
You can go to Indiegogo, The Keeper's Diary, a Biohazard story. If you just type it in, it'll pop up. You go ahead and click on it. We have all kinds of perks available. I think there's some bugs in the system right now that Andy's trying to work out with what's available to ship where and stuff like that, but we're trying to resolve it. So we have a $10 name appears in the special thanks, $20 digital copy of the script, female detective poster, security operator poster, like a movie poster, like what you would see like on an Indiana Jones cover or something like that.
Oh yeah, like right behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A zombie keeper poster, and some of I think all of these are signed actually, or maybe not. I don't know.
I have to get that. I have to get that. I don't have enough. I don't have enough posters.
There you go. We have a zombie keeper poster, Zombie Charlie. We have 2 posters as operator, like a military contractor kind of poster with Charlie. One is with a M4 carbine, and the other is with M92 Beretta. And then there's a T-shirt with like one of the movie posters on it. There's a leather jacket poster of Charlie where he's looking over his shoulder. Signed copy of the script, a cameo type video from Charlie, a private Zoom type call with Charlie is one of the perks. Signed PS1 video game that Charlie will sign. There's 2 of those left, but we may open that back up. I'm just kind of worried about that based off the scarcity of how hard they are to get now.
Yeah, that's very true.
And then there's an associate producer credit perk and an executive producer credit perk.
I just thought of a new one.
We may add more.
Awesome.
I thought of a new one.
What?
For $50,000, I will adopt you. You can be my child.
Yeah, there you go.
That sounds honestly pretty cool. But yeah, 50,000. Who knows? There's probably a fan out there. But yeah, if you want to be Chris's, the original Chris Redfield son, that'd be that's available.
I'm a really shitty dad. I'm never around. I've got PTSD. I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
But if you want to be my child, I will adopt you.
Ironically, their name is Rose.
Yeah. So Yeah, so that's a lot of perks, guys. Yeah, good job with all those perks. I'm actually super excited about those perks. I definitely want to help with the donation. So yeah, especially with the posters. The posters, they really get me, as you guys can see the background. But but yeah, honestly, as mentioned to the viewers, yeah, definitely consider checking that out just to see all of the perks and the minimum requirement for those perks. Because yeah, this movie is happening, and it would honestly be really helpful if you guys could donate to that so that we can get an
Yep.
awesome Resident Evil movie, So, yeah.
Yep.
So the other thing that I also want to ask is, are there any other past projects you'd like the viewers to know about? And this question obviously is for both Andrew and Charlie. So, yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I really have anything too exciting or noteworthy. I've been working on a short film that I've been trying to make into a feature film called Honora, Part One: The Nightmare, and it's about a young woman who kind of wakes up in the middle of a forest, not knowing who she is or where she came from, and along her journey, she finds out that she was experimented on by this corporation or organization. And I mean, there's a lot of inspiration from Resident Evil in it, but she has some enhanced abilities that allow her to take on different challenges throughout the film. And she meets some characters along the way that help her out. And, the end of the film, she takes this corporate entity on head first and
Yeah.
battle it out. So
That's very interesting. So, where could viewers watch that? Yeah.
just on my YouTube channel, Andrew Saullo.
Yeah. But Charlie, yeah, go ahead. Go on. Go ahead.
So I've actually done quite a few little side projects, which content creators who are fans have contacted me, and I've lent my voice or my image to, and some of them are still in the works. But probably the most noteworthy is that I'm going to have a cameo in Daymare 1994 Sandcastle.
Yes. Yes.
And that's going to be released on August 30th. So don't get too excited. It's just a small cameo, but it's the first time that I'm going to be in a video game, for like 27 years. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. Definitely gonna have to check it out. But yeah.
Cool. And there's another one that's actually dropping, I think, next week, which is episode 2 of Carrier Raccoon City. And this is a kind of a mashup of Resident Evil and Max Payne, and it's by a guy named Sean. And what he does is he takes still images, and then he makes he enhances them. And so I'm going to be Mayor Warren in Carrier Raccoon City episode 2, and there's a billboard of Mayor Warren that appears in the episode, so I'll be in the billboard. And then kind of after the fact, he was like, hey, can you also record some lines? So there's like a little press conference with the mayor where I recorded some voiceover for him. And that was supposed to actually come out today, but I saw on Twitter that he's like, oh, sorry guys, there's some unforeseen delays, so it's going to drop sometime next week.
Yeah, I actually messaged him about that. And I'm like, that's not because of me, is it?
he's
like, no. Like, don't worry about
the same thing. I was
yeah.
like, we're overshadowing him. He's
Yeah.
gonna put it off for a week.
No, he said no.
Okay, so that's good.
Yeah.
And then there's also some fans who are creating actual games. So there's 2 guys. They're both Brazilian guys, and one of them is making it's kind of like a GTA of Resident Evil, where it's open world. And
I think I've
that
heard of
one's
this.
called,
Yes.
Yeah. Biohazard Untold Stories.
Yeah.
And so I'll be featured in that one. And then there's another guy from Brazil, Emmanuel Roca, and he wanted to make a fan-made film not film, sorry, a fan-made game as well. But I've been scratching my head about this, and I'm like, why don't you guys just make something original? So I posed the challenge to Emmanuel, and I'm like, let's just make an original game. And so he's making a game, and it's going to be called Nightmare Begins. And I'm not sure, he asked for my input, and I'm not sure how much of it he'll use. But my idea was it's going to kind of be inspired by the series Penny Dreadful, where there's all these monsters in one story, like Frankenstein is in it, the Mummy, vampires are in it, the Wolfman is in it. So like I was like, 'cause he was kind of going there. He was kind of thinking it's like a Van Helsing kind of character. And I was like, just go with it. Let's make it Victorian London, and the protagonist is like a Van Helsing kind of guy, and he's battling all the classic monsters. So he's still working on it. I'm not sure how much of that, he'll incorporate, but that was my vision for it. And he seemed really keen to do it.
Yeah.
What else? There's probably some. Yeah, I'm having trouble thinking of another one, but I've just been really busy. It's like,
I just
Yeah.
thought of a couple, or I guess one. I was in a movie on Netflix in a very small role.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't know if it's I don't know if it's on Netflix anymore. It might be on Amazon Prime. It's called Fronteras. It's about like rogue border patrol agents trying to protect the border, blah blah blah. So it's a pretty cool movie. Um, and then what was the other thing? I can't remember either. It was in my mind and it went away.
I see. So for the Fronteras as well, are you an actor or like background or?
I was just a background, or not a background. I was one of the border patrol people on the team, and I had a little fight scene at the very end of the movie that was somewhat choreographed, but came out okay.
Yeah. I see. Yeah, well, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. That's so awesome that you guys have so many projects lined up. Really excited, especially with Charlie too with the video game. I will be checking out the Fronteras. That seems really cool, and as well as your Anora, right? Anora. I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just a little short film I have on my YouTube channel.
yeah,
Gosh, I feel like
yeah.
there's something else that I'm forgetting that I cannot remember
yeah.
what it is for the life of me.
As far as resurrections, um, you know, I think it really lends itself to a web series. Like that's kind of where I'd like to see it go. But it's all just very organic right now. It could end up being a short film. It could be a web series. Who knows?
Yeah,
But I think it lends itself to a series where if we have the right kind of writing, it could really just blow people's minds.
Yeah, and Resurrections, correct me if I'm wrong, but it has Barry, right? The original Barry, the original Wesker, and Charlie, right? So yeah, that's really cool to see. And yeah, going back to the Keeper's Diary, where can people stay up to date with this project in particular? And as well, where can people stay up to date with you guys, with any projects that you write with any of your social medias?
so you can follow Biohazard Declassified and the @ handle The Keeper's Diary, no space, all lowercase, on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Uh, I try to post everything I can on there. I know Andy posts a lot on there through Biohazard Declassified, so through his own page, he'll be posting updates. And then JJ posts a lot of stuff on the row. And then me personally, my Instagram page is just Andrew Saullo, no space, all lowercase. So that's my Instagram. So
Right. And it's prudent to say that the crowdfunding is on Indiegogo.
yep.
Yep.
And all of my social medias are basically just my name, just Charlie Kraslavsky, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or is it X? I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you X my X? Like, can you re-X my X? I don't know. Elon Musk, weird guy. But anyway, and then I'm also on TikTok, but I've only posted one video there. But the Keeper's Diary on TikTok, there's some cool videos there, like a Jill sandwich video and some other fun videos as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out, guys, and give you guys a follow. So, thank you guys so much for taking the time to letting me interview you guys about the Keeper's Diary. Best of luck, guys, with this project. I'm really excited and looking forward to seeing this movie. So, yeah, best of luck.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was really fun chatting with you. Let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, sounds awesome. Yeah.